Boom. Windows 1.11. Boom. Oh, now why is it opening in full screen? Can I fix this? No, come on. Already we're starting with this? No. Really, I just wanted to... So, let's actually talk about what the hell we just saw. Windows 1.0 was released in 1985, and for what it was worth, it had next to no install base and was dumb. It was a graphical shell for MS-DOS operations meant to improve office productivity. Microsoft's market was corporations at the time. Windows 3.1 was really the start of pushing towards the home user, and that kind of became the norm with Windows 95, really. That became more of a thing we did in the 90s. This was not what people were doing in the 80s. I mean, if it wasn't for corporate buyers, Microsoft would have folded in the 1980s. It took Word coming to Mac to get it any footing, but we're getting off track. So just assume for this demonstration that Windows 1.0 is actually a home product. It's still only the sum of its parts, its network connectivity, its drawing tools, the applications and games. Windows doesn't augment any of them. But hey, having 1985's latest computing technology on Windows 10, kinda neat, in all honesty. It's a neat little novelty thing. And from like July 2nd until July 7th, the day before this came out, it sounded like this was just Windows 1.0 rebuilt, probably in Unity or Java, but whatever, and tossed onto the Microsoft Store for nostalgia points. But then, oops, they accidentally let it slip that this was really a horror game, not actual Windows. And not just a horror game, it's a licensed Stranger Things game. Now, licensed games are never really all that good, and with that comes the fact I have zero interest in Stranger Things, Netflix, streaming TV, or movies, or TV and movies. Like, I haven't seen a film in 2 years, and if I really want to see a film, I could always just wait for the DVD release, go to pretty much any big box store, and find it on the shelf for $5 to $20. Maybe a bit more for a season of a TV show, but either way, it's no big deal. As for games, that I totally understand selling digitally. These things are not preserved at all, stores barely keep them in stock for that long, and secondhand prices are insane. So I get downloading or hell, streaming a game like Destiny, Doom, whatever, but that's a topic for another day. With TV or movies though, I can't ever see myself watching enough to warrant paying for a streaming service. So this Stranger Things thing, I've got no interest. I also just don't really have much 80s nostalgia. Like, it's bits and pieces, like old games, old computer stuff, neat. I don't care for New Coke, or Care Bears, or the Mall, or Radio Shack. This does nothing for me, and finding out that Windows 1.0 is just a licensed game where you literally just sit through a bunch of ads to get to surprise what's just a bunch of little mini games that I didn't even get to because I was so sick of seeing ads for a thing I don't care about. Yeah, it kind of made me sick. It drove me up the wall. Paint's literally just 2 interactions, and then you get to use the smallest pen size in just 1 color with no other settings. The Word documents can't be edited, there's no way to start a new Word document just to type, and there's a whole other part of this that just really imagines my dragons. See, we gotta remember, who was winning the home computer market in 1985? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't Windows. It was IBM. Where is IBM now? They're dying in the gutter, the decaying living corpse of a technological Charlie Kane clutching its last snow globe in the expansive Xanadu of its own ego. Where was Microsoft in 1985? Floundering. Floundering harder than a flounder at the flounder market. See, I already used up my really good analogy on IBM, so I don't have a good one for Windows. Where is Microsoft now? Everywhere. Literally everywhere. It's so clear that this was for the money. Nobody's actually nostalgic for Windows 1.0 because there's nobody around to feel any nostalgia for it. If you worked in a building that had Windows 1.0, they got rid of that as soon as they could for literally anything else. And if you were a home user with Windows 1.0, you were a nerd, and you've just moved on to like Linux now, and you've had Linux for 20 years. This is a marketing move to make Microsoft look bigger than it really was, especially historically. If this was just DOS, with some Stranger Things bits, That would have been more realistic and more decent. If this was Windows 1.0 loaded with Stranger Things goodies but was otherwise mostly completely usable, that would have been rather neat. Anachronistic as all hell and probably not worth the price of admission, that price being free, but neat nonetheless. But the fact that this is a minimally featured Pony Island ripoff trying to sell me a streaming service I can't give a toss about just feels insidious, lousy, stupid, lousy, and stupid. Don't waste your time, kids. If you're a big fan of Stranger Things, you've already seen all these trailers, and if you're a big fan of Windows, then you're not going to get anything out of this. This is a marketing grab meant to take your attention and waterboard it with a can of New Coke until you just give up. I don't like this. It makes me sad. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, I'd recommend subscribing. Patreon and social media links are in the description.